pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a seat. Roll call.
Holcomb.
Here.
Nikki.
Here.
Sarah.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Mike.
Here.
John.
Here.
Paige.
Here.
Lemmings.
Here.
Bass.
Here.
Good to have everyone here this evening. We have a few changes for the agenda to approve. We will voice vote on these individually and then roll call all the changes collectively. So first, I would entertain a motion to dispense with the audible reading of the transfers.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a first and we have a motion and a second
Nikki.
to dispense with the audible reading of transfers. It was Nikki and Phillips. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We also have one added ordinance sponsored by Mary Phillips. Do I hear a motion to entertain that ordinance at the appropriate time?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to entertain the additional ordinance. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we have a change to the ordinance that was sponsored by Justice Holcomb. That was the one for the Pettigene bill. And I would also, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to move that up to the first item past old business, so we can kill two birds with one stone there. Do I hear a motion to entertain that change?
So moved. Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to entertain those changes. Any discussion?
Who seconded that?
Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so now the collective of all of those changes, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to collectively approve of all of the agenda changes. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes and financials?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the minutes and financials. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? County judge's comments, I have a few, and you may have to bear with me just for a little bit. First of all, the new 911 center is up and running. I don't think many people in the county knew when we were even moving, and it went without a hitch that day. All the problems that we had were very minor, and there really weren't many to even count problems. We moved from the Fairfield Base Center to the mobile command, from the mobile command to the new center, and it went pretty seamlessly. We had the unfortunate opportunity to test everything out with a terrible wreck in Choctaw a couple of weeks ago, and that went seamlessly. One of the things that killed me about the dispatch center we came from was how tight and congested everything was. One operator's trying to give information to an ambulance. You can't even hear that for another operator who's running traffic or doing other dispatching. You couldn't hear anything in the background, and there was a lot going on. So the sound barriers, the acoustics, everything seems to be working out really well over there. We got everything moved from Fairfield Bay. I think we're finally done with the move. And so far, so good. Do you have any questions on 911? Okay, moving on to the county road and equipment report.
What about new people? How's that working out? New hires and stuff.
Okay, Judy?
Okay.
And would you care to come to the microphone?
So since the race, we have only lost one person that we kind of knew was going anyways, and it wasn't about money. And it's been a standstill. We still have a full-time and a part-time position to fill. And we're slowly getting some applications in. And people that do come in do seem pretty excited about the new place. I mean, it's pretty impressive, and I hope you guys can come and take a look tonight.
Any other questions?
If you want to.
Thanks, Judy. Okay, the county road report, of course, was very long. We did face kind of a big to us disaster. We just had holes open up. It was unbelievable how deep those holes were and how loose they were and how hard they were to fill up. And we got through it. If there was ever a question as to whether it was the right thing to start producing our own materials, this answered it. We had our materials sitting there ready. We had more material than we could haul ourselves. We had a need for more than we could haul ourselves. We hired Van Buren County haulers and contractors to do Van Buren County work. Some of our contractors hadn't had, because of the weather, they hadn't been able to work in 3 weeks. So it put them to work. It was just a really good opportunity for everyone to come together and get the county put back together as far as county roads. A disaster that on the books is going to be over $1 million disaster is going to fall within what we had stashed back in the additional road tax fund. So I think on the report, if you read it, I was going to be requesting a line of credit for upward toward $1 million just to make it through. I think we're going to be frugal. I think we're going to make it work. May have to come back to you if we have to buy something up front for a reimbursement style grant. But as of right now, I think we're going to be able to make it without anything. So I think we're going to be okay. Any questions for me or Randy or whoever? Excellent. Do you guys have any questions for any of the elected officials who are here? And elected officials or department heads, would any of you like to address the Quorum Court? I'll call you in just a second.
Just to get y'all up to speed, and Ethan has gotten a grant for our in-car computers, all the equipment to get that all hooked up, laptops, stands, printers, modems, everything. It's like a $80-something thousand grant. So tonight we're hoping to pass ordinance. It's a refundable grant. So everything that we spend as a county, they're going to refund. It's a wash. It's going to cover all of that. So also, I think we're at 12. We planned on doing 15. I think we'll actually, by the time we're done, we'll have 20 vehicles newly striped. Now, as soon as we're getting these things striped, we're having these incidents like where somebody was towing somebody and they come across the center line, and this was freshly striped vehicle and they sideswiped it. And the good thing is they didn't get the striping. They got there was only a piece about that long
So
that we'll
that
have
was
to
the
replace.
accident we saw on Facebook?
Yes.
People towing?
They were towing and they crossed. He was just sitting there waiting to pull out on the highway, and they come across the line and hit him. So, but State Farm will be taking care of that. They were at fault, and so the repair will be done at no cost to us. But again, we got a lot of vehicles highly striped and visible, and I think people are starting to see it and take notice, and I'm pretty proud of it. So one thing that I know Esther had asked me about, we're looking at purchasing a full-time certified officer from Fairfield Bay. Now, when they're new, like I talked to y'all in the past about us spending almost $60,000 over a year for a new deputy to send them to get trained. He's certified, so he owes them that 1 year or 18 months obligation. And since he wants to come to work for us early, we'll have to buy them out. So I think it's a little over $5,000, but that's a lot cheaper than us having to send one ourselves. So that'll be on your agenda tonight, and we're hoping to get that passed, and that will in the future save us more money. So also our raises for our jailers, we're full staffed. We seem to be doing really good, really well. It's made a difference, and we're glad to have our employees. So if y'all have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Are you fully staffed with deputies now?
We're still down the Corps of Engineer one, but we won't fill that until after March 1st. Is that right, Ethan? That's when that Corps contract kicks off. So actually, the $5,000 that y'all are going to spend tonight, the money's in our budget. We're not asking really for more money because we're paying for it out of our full-time salaries, because that position has not been filled since January. So that money's there to cover that. Anybody else?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I don't have my ordinance.
Well, we can fix that. I'll give you mine. And Carol, would you like to cover hot checks?
Yes, so we have, part of the packet was our Van Buren County the prosecutor's office hot check report. Our new auditor wants us to run these in each of our county, just for transparency purposes, I guess. So it's not county money, this is money we get associated with hot check fees. And we use it to do things like supplement, when we need to order a transcript from the court reporter, or supplies, and things that we don't have to ask y'all for. So anyway, that report's in there. We ran it in Searcy County last month, and we'll do it in Faulkner County next week. But it's just part of the procedure now that we have to do, is just to run that through the quorum court. So that's there. If y'all have any questions, I told Chad to stay at senior night, and I would just present.
Any questions? Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Any public comments at this time? Okay. So that moves us up to the next item, which is a discussion and an ordinance surrounding a bill from Petty Jean Electric.
We can do that in
So what happened was we received a bill and we received a letter in September that let us become aware that there was an underbilling issue on the meter that controls this building. There was a multiplier attached to the meter for whatever reason, because it was a high consumption meter. I really don't understand the ins and outs of that, really don't need to. From what I understand, we just weren't charged for all the electricity that we used. And it was charged at a multiplier that was about half what we had actually used. So they sent us a bill for 18 years. That's how long we've been in this building. And that bill was $96,000 and some change. I've been asked about this bill several times, and my response was always, that's why we have attorneys, and we let them guide us. And we were counter-offered a reduction in that price to down around $60,000. Our stance never changed. We believed, and we were just assured by multiple attorneys from the Association of Arkansas Counties, our own attorneys, that Carol and Chad as well, that there would be a 3-year statute of limitations that would apply in a case like this. So after some discussion, they had agreed to that 3-year statute of limitations. So there are laws around situations like this, and there are Public Service Commission rules for situations like this, because it's happened before in other places. And I firmly believe that if we would have tried to fight this in court, the amount that we would be going after would be the amount that's going to be before you tonight, which is the underbilling for 3 years. That underbilling amount is $23,963.97, which is a far cry from over $96,000.
When did this take place? When did they put the multiplier on there? That was Petty Jean that put that on there. And it was their mistake. In the past, all of the people that operated Petty Jean, they eat that because that was their mistake. They made the mistake.
Mm-hmm. And they admit that that was their mistake. They firmly admit that.
I'm sorry, Dale, but who did you talk to?
I talked with Michael Kirkland.
Is that the guy that they just hired?
He's been around for a little while. He's been around there for several years.
That's the guy that got the $400,000 raise, right?
Well, that's not a part, guys, let's keep this discussion based specifically on
Well,
what,
it's
that
part
we're
of
in the
the
weeds there.
I believe it's part of the discussion
Um,
because they can't make the bill now.
We received our first letter on September 20th. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to turn it over to Carol.
And there are very specific public, the PSC's regulations that we would be under, okay? So if we dispute this, you go in front of an administrative type hearing at the Public Service Commission. You don't go to circuit court down the road. And they have a specific procedure, and I'm happy to send it to anybody that wants to see it, but for underbilling. So this is not the first time this has happened, and it sounds to me like they have gone through some sort of automated system on some of their bigger accounts, and they've located this problem has happened, with other accounts as well. And so under the PSC rules, they're allowed to do this. Now, the 96,000 was ridiculous and way too far back. But the regulations, as I read them, and all the other attorneys that we've spoken to, I think they would win as far as the 3 years goes in the hearing that we would be afforded if we decide to fight this and then possibly shut it off in the meantime. So I think when this first came to our attention, since the regulations are clear, the issue was let's get them down to the amount that we actually would owe under the rules, not this sort of larger net that they initially cast, I guess, to see if we pay it, I don't know. But so yes, it's their mistake. Yes, they're admitting that, and we still lose in the hearing, is my legal advice. For the 23,000, not for the 96, whatever it was.
I don't see how we can be responsible though for their mistake. They did it.
Because you consume the electricity. I mean, that's why, and that's what the rules say.
Well, why did the previous people that took care of Petty G, why did they just have to write it off?
So I'm looking at the current PSC regulations. I don't know if that was different sometime in the past, but the regulations for this time period are what govern. And there's a very specific procedure for underbilling. And it's not, it's clear, and that's where we are.
I understand. My understanding is there's a whole lot of people. I know in my district, there's a whole lot of people that are upset about what he's doing. And this rate hike that's coming in is going to hurt all our elderly, every one of our elderly.
Well, and Mr. I'm certainly not here to take it for them necessarily. I'm just trying to guide the county in if we were to contest this, what does that look like for us? And I think this is your best bet in a hearing. And so if they're willing to, and that's why they're willing to agree to it, right? And so I think if we agree to it, that's, that would be best case scenario at the hearing. This is what we're looking at from a legal perspective.
Well,
regardless of rate.
I think what we would look like by the people out there that I'm talking to, they think that we need to do something and stop a lot of this stuff. My understanding is that, well, I'm not going to go into all of that, but that was 20 years ago, wasn't it? 18 years ago.
That's when it started, yeah.
And they made the mistake, and all these other times, all these other leaders.
And if you don't mind, you bring up a very good point, and we need to address that as well, because this is broadcast, and a lot of people view it. And
yeah.
Knowing what's on the table, even more people are probably going to view it. The public needs to know that we have no jurisdiction and no authority and no control at all whatsoever over our electric company. We don't have any control, authority, jurisdiction over water companies either. And people kind of tend to think that we do, and we really don't.
Not only that, if we contest it, we don't get to go to circuit court here in Van Buren County with a Van Buren County jury like we would in most cases. The rules are you have to litigate it at the Public Service Commission.
Yes, I understand that. But there's a lot of people that's writing Public Service Commission and complaining about what's going on up here in Van Buren County.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, but I'm just based on what the rules that we're bound by say.
More and more are jumping on the bandwagon because the rate hikes and everything else. And give himself, I understand this, he's paid $450,000. No one's ever been paid that to run Petty Jean. And gave himself a very handsome raise, double.
Point of order. That's not a part of this discussion.
Well, that's right. It isn't, Dale, but it all boils down to the people in Van Buren County are upset. Not only the people like us, but the workers are upset.
No argument from this corner.
And
Well, Carol, are they required to do an annual audit? I mean, does an auditor come in every year and audit their books? I mean,
I don't know if they're required to do an annual audit, but that doesn't change that they can go back and assess under billing. And I will say too that my understanding of this very same process has happened to several other customers, and that they've also negotiated down to what I think legally we are and they would be responsible for. So, I mean, it's. And I get it. It kind of doesn't feel right. Like you go back and whether it's right or not, I'm just telling you what the rules say. I certainly don't.
well, wouldn't the auditor wouldn't he have to be bonded? I'm trying to put the responsibility on them.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to a hearing and make those arguments, but I think one a lot of work by Dale and the attorneys involved has gone into getting that amount reduced, because 2 days ago when we spoke, we were looking at shut off on the 27th and arguing over $96,000. And so I think that's what has been done, is to get them to agree that number was not a reasonable amount, without even having without contesting.
I can't support giving them anything. It wasn't our mistake.
Yeah.
But I'm one person.
I agree totally with you. I don't think we're gonna beat the system, but I think charging us going back for 18 years, I mean, whoops.
Well, and so that's what they're not doing in this agreed to amount.
Right,
So
but
that's where we've
I
gotten
think
to. Absolutely.
It's their mistake,
Sure.
but we're not gonna beat the system.
Well, a lot of times numbers are thrown out to see what's going to stick.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, this is our hope. And then when gets down to the brass tacks, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
So
What will
obviously we consume the electricity. The usage is there. So, and if we're not going to win this in an appeal, then, if you look at 96 to 23, that's a 65% reduction in the bill. So, I mean, I think that,
It's called cut your
you know what?
losses.
Is it difficult to write a $23,000 check? Sure, but it's sure better than 96.
I have a question. From what I'm hearing, did individuals in the county also get hit with a bigger bill, or?
I think there were about a dozen.
And what would their bill have been?
Who knows?
Anybody have an idea?
I don't know. I think, though, that even though we have taking all this in, I agree it's their mistake, and I think the 18 years was just a ridiculous request. And I think that it probably scared people in the community. So I think for anything, we have no control over those things, but at least I wouldn't have been in support of paying anything more than 3 years.
Right.
But it is their mistake, Esther. And, I think that by us at least setting a thing in a way, not really, but that, hey, no one should pay more than 3 years. And if it was an individual citizen, they shouldn't have, in my opinion, to pay that much. But at least it's a way in the right direction of it's crazy to ask for 18 years. I mean,
Yes.
you know, that's,
Yeah.
I can't
It's
even
almost an
imagine.
affront, you know?
But we did consume it. I think that at the end of the day, we're not going to beat the system on it. I hope that there's no individuals that are
Yeah.
charged anything like that. But
Right. At least we are owed an apology, or the county is owed an apology.
And we have received that
Have you?
through them, yes. Not officially and formally in a letter, but verbally, yes.
This 23,000, would it be one lump sum payment or?
We get one lump sum. We just get rid of it tomorrow and put it behind us.
But does this set a precedence if we do those 3 years? Does it set a precedence for those other people who are individuals?
This is an agreement if y'all pass this tonight. So I don't really even know that precedent would have any weight on a PSC administrative hearing like it would Supreme Court to the circuit court type thing. But I do think legally, I think that's going to end up being what is determined to be the statute of limitations, regardless of who the customer is.
Has anyone talked to the Service Commission? Has any lawyers talked to the Service Commission?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I know Mark Whitmore and Association of Arkansas Counties, a team of lawyers. I know Eddie Jones has weighed in on this, who's the most highly respected attorney that I've ever encountered.
He's a good attorney.
And I even reached out to someone who used to be on the PSC that I could trust, kind of off the record, to be like, what's our recourse here, you know? So we did spend a lot of time, Dale and Chad especially, and Mark, but to make sure that we certainly didn't bring this to y'all to pay more than we thought we would have to if we went to a hearing.
When we're truly transparent, it's a little hard to play poker, and we might as well just show all our cards. We have early voting that starts next week. We can't face a power outage. We have a statutory requirement to offer certain portions of county government. They're not, you may provide this, it's you shall provide this. The book's open for the year in collections, March 1st. We have to operate a collector's office. We have to operate an assessor's office and a clerk's office and a treasurer's office. We have to do those things. If we could shut down for an emergency, but that would have to be a very short period of time that we could do that. And I really don't think filing injunctions to get our power turned back on, and it's not a good look for us or the community. I think even though it may not feel good and it may leave a bad taste in some of our mouths, I think it really is the right thing to do to honor the statute of limitations and to put this behind us and move forward.
Well, and also stretch it out over time and court cases and going and all that and, traveling and that isn't good either, so.
And those wonderful people that work at Petty Jean Electric, we can't accidentally or make them think that this is anything against them and their employer, because I know they have a very good job. And this is simply a billing issue, and that's where we need to leave it.
Well, it's something, it's electricity, so it's not like, we used a bunch of their hay and we can just give it back to them. So, we're kind of in a pickle here. So, for lack of a better way to say it, but I do think that the smaller number is much easier to swallow. And being on the budget committee, I'm just thankful that we have the funds to pay it and not be in a bad position. So
it's a testament
who found this? I mean, after 18 years, who was looking and, oh, wait a minute, y'all old now.
Yeah.
I think they have I don't know this for sure, but I think they have an automated system that's going back through and checking. Because like I said, we're not the only ones it's happened to. So
I think they've invested in some auditing technology, and hopefully this should never happen again.
And that was a question that I had. Are we 100% certain that there's no other entity in the county that has been, the multipliers are incorrect? Like,
apparently they've
this
checked.
Is the only one that.
Yeah.
I would like to know that they've all been checked,
Right.
if that's at all possible,
Yes.
so we don't have to.
I had the same question. I've been
If he can
assured that we're okay.
If he can shut the power off to Van Buren County. He can do it to these older people out here that are struggling to make ends meet. I understand he's already fired over 20 people, and the workers are just scared to death for their job, and it's starting a precedent that I don't think that we'll be able to control. Something's got to be done. We're losing our company.
Okay. And there's the proper form by which to do that.
Yeah.
But this one isn't it.
Go to the
Yeah.
commission.
I know we did things a little different this time, and we put a discussion on the agenda, and I think it worked out really well. But after having such a good, robust discussion, the next item that we just approved with the agenda change is going to be the ordinance, and to pay the $23,000. And in a change, I'm going to ask our county attorney if she would read that tonight.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance, is this the right one? Yeah. 02354, the annual operating budget for 2024, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $23,963.97 into the Van Buren County Reserve Fund 1001-103, to be transferred and appropriated into the county annex budget 1000-120 in the county general fund. Whereas Van Buren County has received a bill from Paging Electric after correcting a billing error from a 40 multiplier to an 80 multiplier from February 05 to June of 2023, and whereas it has been agreed upon between Paging Electric and Van Buren County that the county be responsible for the last 3 years of the difference. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $23,963.97 will be appropriated into line 1001-103-9999 in the County Reserve Fund. Section 2, $23,963.97 will be transferred from number 1001-103-9999 and appropriated into the courthouse annex budget of 1000-120-3060. Utilities electric to be paid to Paging Electric.
I don't have that order.
We don't have that. I
have
ain't
that.
got that one.
I
It
don't
was
have
emailed at
Today.
Okay, point of order. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Now, discussion.
So what is this gonna do as far as our budget for the year? We set aside what we balanced out, for the year. Now we got an increase. How's that gonna change our budget for the,
It's coming out of the reserve.
I know this is, but do we have enough budgeted for the whole year since we got an increase from Paging?
Well,
Oh, yes,
yes,
that was-
we included, so when we budgeted this year, we made sure to include that. It was a substantial increase,
Okay.
and so it's included in there going forward.
Very good question.
That was some of the only changes, and you'll remember when some of the only changes in some of the budgets, was the utilities.
Okay. I didn't recall it
And
right
that
now,
was
but I'll
that-
have to go
that
back
was
and
the
look at that.
reason, but yeah.
Okay.
Because we found out about this in the fall.
Any more discussion? Oh, Pam's telling me that you guys didn't get a copy of all these. They just got emailed. And
I emailed and forgot to make
Well, I didn't have that one.
Sorry.
I just printed off the
I
email.
read it off the email, but
Yeah, she's already ready.
She read it correctly as
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
yes.
John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
No,
2024-03.
Thank you. And our next ordinance, I don't think I have a copy of it, is by who?
Well, do you want to do this?
Justice Holt. Next up on our agenda is we need to vote for a delegate to the Association of Arkansas Counties Quorum Court Association. And Mary, would you like to?
I'd love to, thank
bet.
you. since I'm still on the board.
Would you like to tell them what you do?
I am the secretary on the Quorum Court board for the state. There's a 12-person board.
She represents Van Buren County very well.
Thank you.
I like listening to Chris Valines brag about Mary Phillips and Lindsay as well.
Lindsay's
They
great.
tell us how well you represent us.
Thank you.
Any other person interested in that position?
Maybe when Mary's finished.
Thank you, dear.
Be big shoes to fill.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve Mary as our delegate?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve Mary Phillips as our delegate. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I guess you made it, Mary.
Thank
Barely.
you. Thank you.
Okay, our next ordinance is sponsored by Justice Holcomb, and I believe it's the $50,000 ordinance.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number O-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024 to increase revenues and appropriate $50,000 into the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office budget number 1000-400. Whereas the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office has received a grant through the State of Arkansas Department of Public Safety Research and Planning Division in the amount of $50,000 for body cameras. Whereas these monies will need to be appropriated in the grant line item number 3103. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that section 150,000 shall be appropriated into line number 1000-400-3103 grants in. I make motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
I think it's great.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Yes.
Mike. John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings. Bass. O 2024-04.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is also sponsored by Justice Holcomb.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to transfer monies within the Sheriff's Department budget number 1000-400 to pay out, reimburse the City of Fairfield Bay Police Department for an employee who has completed the Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy. Whereas the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office has inquired about hiring a City of Fairfield Bay Police Department employee from the City of Fairfield Bay, has paid for training through the Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy. And whereas the cost of the payout reimbursement is $5,428.80 due to his 18 months not being completed at the City of Fairfield Bay Police Department. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $5,428.80 be transferred from number 1000-400-1001 full-time salaries to number 1000-400-3100 other miscellaneous, and Section 2, the payout reimbursement be approved to be paid for this employee to the City of Fairfield Bay Police Department. Move it be adopted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any further discussion?
Yes. Eric, if we pay this out, is that not going to run the
I can't hear you. What was it?
If we pay this out of your salaries,
Out of the full-time salaries, yes.
is that not going to run you short?
No, because we have intentionally not filled our Corps of Engineer full-time slot since January. It's been empty, and it won't be filled till after March the 1st because that contract does not kick off till March 1st. So we've had 3 months of nobody filling that slot, so that money's still there.
Okay, is it going to cover this?
We're covering it. We're not asking for funds, we're just asking to move it from the funds we have to cover it.
Okay, and he's working, after this, he will go to work for you?
Yes, he may work out his 2 weeks' notice, but right now he's currently a part-time deputy for us, so we know his work ethic. He's a very good deputy. He does a great job. He is full-time certified. He's trained. So it's going to, in the long run, save us from having to send someone to the academy and have that 18 months where it costs us $60,000 to get them certified, and then they'll maybe staying or not staying. So it's a lot
And that
less.
is a good deal, I'm sure, but
It's a good deal for you, it's not so good for
is he planning to stay with you?
Yes. Yes, he is.
Now, he's gonna be hard, is he gonna be a core?
No, he will be the, is it a full-time slot? It's not the core slot, is it? No, it's,
No,
he's,
that's a pass-through, you brought that up, but that's a
Yes.
pass-through.
yes.
So what's his obligation gonna be to work for you?
He still has the 18-month obligation. If we pay for that, whatever he has left at Fairfield Bay, he has that with us. So say he just up and left. He'd come to us and worked a month and decided to go to Marshall or somewhere. They would have to buy us out. But you said he cannot. He cannot.
Yeah, he can't just leave. His
Right.
certification would be no good. Basically, if he
What
left
now?
Fairfield Bay, if he left Fairfield Bay and we did not buy him out, like he just said, I'm leaving, but within that 18 months, his certification is no longer any good.
Yep.
The state won't honor it.
No matter where he goes, he has to put 18 months in through his probationary period. So that's why we have to buy him out. If he goes somewhere else, someone else would have to buy him out from us.
Do y'all sign a contract with them when they do that? Is that a binding
No,
contract?
well, it's the contract that the ALETA, Arkansas Law Enforcement Training Academy.
It's through class.
Through
It's
class,
Everyone.
Every
goes to
deputy's
police academy,
required
hired
to
full-time.
fulfill 18 months,
Yeah.
or he will not be certified. He won't get his certification.
So he's guaranteed to be with you at least 8 months.
The rest of his contract, yes.
He's used up 10 months of that, I understand from
Yeah,
that.
right.
So you got him for 8 months.
Yeah, and from after talking with him and working with him, he plans on staying with us for a lot longer than that. Yeah, yeah.
At least he's still in the county.
Yes. Yeah.
Any more discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Lemmings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-05.
Thank you. Sarah, you've got the next one.
Be it enacted by the Quorum
Sorry,
Court of-
I couldn't skip this.
Not Siri.
It happens all the time. All the time. Be it enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance number O-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024 to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $88,470 into the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office budget line item 1000-400. Whereas the Van Buren County Sheriff's Office has been approved to receive a grant through the Arkansas State Police in the amount of $88,470 with a $9,830 local match for 12 laptops/tablets, 12 document scanners, 12 docking stations, 12 DL scanners, 12 printers, 12 passenger side mount, 12 U-bolt mount with arm and printer, 12 routers, 12 antennas with cell and GPS leads, and whereas this will enable the sheriff's deputies to utilize the state police eCrash and eSight software to capture and submit electronically off traffic crash and citation data, and whereas the monies will be received after purchases have been made and invoices submitted to the state. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that $88,470 be appropriated into line item 1000-400-3105 grants in ASP. I make a motion we approve as written.
Second.
We have a motion by Siri and a second by Holcomb to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
Is that GPS gonna allow you to track your cars?
Yes.
Okay. And that's gonna jive with CAD, so they'll know who's closer to what call and that kind of stuff?
We don't use the same software, so I don't know.
Just curious.
Yeah, but maybe, we might be able to.
If we can interface the two, we'll see.
It will tell us if the vehicles went, say, to Little Rock at nighttime or something, yeah.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass. O 2024-06.
Thank you. Our next ordinance is the additional ordinance, which is sponsored by Mary Phillips.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, an appropriation ordinance to be entitled, an appropriation ordinance to amend the original appropriation ordinance 0-2023-54, the annual operating budget for 2024, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $66,811.68 into the additional fuel tax fund, number 2003-200. Whereas monies are needed to pay for road maintenance due to the snowstorm in January of 2024, and whereas these monies will need to be appropriated into line 2003-200-9999 to use as needed. Now therefore be it ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County, Arkansas, that Section 1, $66,811.68 be appropriated in the additional fuel tax fund, number 2003-200-9999. I move we adopt this ordinance.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
I don't have that ordinance.
You don't,
I don't have it either, but
he gave me
I believe
his.
what you read, I believe you.
This is money that's there in, well, $32,537.69 is already there. It's additional sales tax, motor fuel tax that gets collected at the state level and deposited every month. That has to be reported on every month. Worked really well to have that that fund sitting there because all of our emergency fund came out of that. All of our emergency spending came out of that one fund, so it's easy to track. And this just appropriates it. It's already there. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Holcomb.
Yes.
Nikki.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Paige.
Yes.
Lemmings.
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
O 2024-07.
Thank you. And our next ordinances, or our next resolutions, are sponsored by John Bradford. And John, since they're resolutions, you don't have to read them in their entirety. So would you care to read the first resolution by title only?
Title only. Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution expressing the willingness of Van Buren County to utilize federal aid monies for the following projects: Lazy Creek Bridge replacement on Lake Cliff Road, structure number 23,689. I move we approve this resolution.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution. Any discussion?
What about the utilities here? I mean, do I understand that we're gonna pay for relocate? We may have to pay for some utility relocation.
We're not going to have to. That's just saying that the burden falls on the county if there are utility relocations. Which, we deal with that every day. Nothing new. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, John, next resolution by title only. Oh, I'm sorry. Got a resolution number.
Oh, R 2024-01.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, State of Arkansas, a resolution to be entitled, a resolution expressing the willingness of Van Buren County to utilize federal aid monies for the following projects: Scotland Branch Bridge replacement on Old Highway 389, structure number M 3015.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second? We have a motion and a second to adopt this resolution. These are grants that we applied for and are receiving through the National Infrastructure Program. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And do I hear a motion to approve the transfers?
R 2024-02.
I'm just getting ahead of myself tonight. Two. Now, do I hear a motion to approve the transfers?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the transfers. Any discussion?
Most of it is, yes. We'll have the ordinance next month.
Good question. Any further discussion? Any more questions? All in favor of approving the transfers signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any public comments? Motion to adjourn. Any opposed? Thank you. Carol, thank you.